So today I spent about $700 on a project I've been working on for a while. It's upgrading my 1986 grid case computer to be a modern computer as good or better than a desktop computer. And I bought an Intel NUC with an i7 CPU inside of it. Has 8 gigabytes of RAM and a 500 gigabyte SSD in here. It is about 4 times faster than even my little crappy laptop. And my little crappy laptop can run Final Fantasy XIV fine with only using like 20% of the CPU power. So this thing will have plenty of CPU power for me. At least for gaming and stuff like that. The big issue is graphics. That laptop, and pretty much any other laptop you could find, does not have a PCIe slot. It has integrated graphics. The graphics are stuck inside the computer. This has integrated graphics, but it also has an M.2 card. And an M.2 card is basically 4 lanes of the 16-lane PCIe card without the power. It's just for a little microchip sized SSD to fit in there. Well, you can use that as a PCIe lane. You can take this, anything that has an M.2 slot, you can connect up a giant graphics card to that. Because you go from the M.2 to to PCIe X4, and you go from PCIe X4 to X16. You only still have the 4 channels, and most converters that I've found only allow 2 channels to go through. But still, PCIe is designed for the future. It's not designed for like the early 2000s when it was made. It was designed for way in the future. So even those 2 lanes can still hold a lot of power, a lot of information. And I also have to splice power in because M.2 does not have power through it, so I have to have power coming in to power the motherboard, or the graphics card. But to be honest, even something like this, a little $30 GT730? GT730. This GT730 should be like 2 times more powerful than this. And I've heard that NVIDIA is going to be releasing the GT930 and GT940. And those should be like, what, I don't know, 10 times more powerful? A lot more powerful. So, this is a computer that I can add a PCIe connector to, which is pretty cool. This computer has a display port and an HDMI output, and I have old monitors, so I don't have any way to view it. But I do have an option. One, I can go out and buy a monitor that has HDMI and maybe start using it here. I don't know. Because secondly, I could just go ahead and buy the LCD I'm going to use. Because it turns out iPads, I think they're iPads. There's some tablet that has really high resolution LCDs. And Adafruit actually sells those LCD panels and a little converter board to go, I think it's an iPad, to go from DisplayPort to the LCD panel. I don't know why, I've never really seen DisplayPort before, except for on this, but I guess it's a thing. And if I look it up, I could find some graphics cards that have DisplayPort, so that's good. So probably what I'll do is I'll spend that $140 and I'll get that 2048 by 1536, which is a really big monitor. That is 4 of these big monitors that I have. It's a lot of pixels. That's a lot to fit into a little 1980s laptop. And so yeah, I might just get that and use that as the monitor because I'll be using it with the grid case. And the reason for that is because if I get this thing to work, it might surpass my usingness of my desktop, my Optiplex. I'll still keep it just for whatever because I like to have a desktop. But if I can make a bulky laptop that's nice and it feels cool and it's awesome and it feels like I could drop it out of a helicopter or something like that and it'll still be fine, because it's like rugged and it's designed to go into outer space. Well, at least the grid case was. I think I might be more into that because then I could have it on the table or I could have it on my bed. So yeah, and I'm going to use an Arduino Teensy to convert the clickety-clickety keyboard inputs into whatever I want. Because evidently with the Teensy, you can write a little program that will be running on the Teensy, and it will, well, basically you have like 20 pins coming out of it. You connect those pins up to the keyboard, and you tell it to pull one of them high, or maybe it's that way? I don't know. Either way, you can fully program the little Arduino Teensy thing, and so you can actually tell it whatever you want, and it can use the USB cable that is turning power from, and it can actually it can make the computer, it can talk to the computer as if it's a keyboard. So I could have it to have different layouts if I want. I can fully handle every key on the keyboard. Pointing devices, that's still an issue because it's like the thing didn't come with a pointing device. There is no area for like a trackball or something like that. I might be able to add something. I don't know though. We'll see. We shall see. At the very least, I can just have a little like trackball that I keep with it. Just something like that. So yeah, I'm just thinking about doing that. And I already ordered the cables, so I have this. This should be working. I have a new Windows 7 installation for this that I got too. Windows is $140. I hate that. And I have those two cables. I have the M.2, actually it's a card, M.2 to PCIe X4, and then I have the PCIe X4 to X16. So I have that, and I have a junky old thing lying around. Right now, the biggest issues I'd have to say is, the biggest things that I'm not totally clear on is battery. I'm not sure what battery I could easily fit into the grid case that would give a lot of power, because I would love to get 40 or more hours of idling battery life. I think that'd be wonderful, and I think that'd be possible. I guess another thing would have to still be a small graphics card with DisplayPort, if they have those. Because those LCDs that I found, they fit perfectly, but they use DisplayPort. So it's like, well, I don't know. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. And to be honest, the DisplayPort thing is kind of mostly an optional upgrade from something that I could already do, because since this outputs DisplayPort, I can just go ahead and get that LCD, plug it in, and it's going. And it can be a laptop that you have to plug in to use. If I figure out the batteries, well then it's a laptop that you don't have to plug in to use. And then if I get a graphics card that has DisplayPort, I can get all the things hooked up to the M.2 thing, so I can have an external graphics card next to it inside the computer. And then I can actually have a better graphics capabilities. Very upgradable. I love this. So yeah, I might just go ahead and order the LCD panels. I don't know. God, I hate whenever I jump so far into something, because it was like, I'm not going to go to Central Computers, that's where I bought this, and buy just the NUC. Because if you're going to buy the NUC, well, you should buy the SSD, and you should buy the RAM, and you should buy the Windows license. So it's like, it's just a big purchase all at once, and it's like, I can afford it, but God. Oh well. With me having a fun little job out in Silicon Valley, I can afford this more easily in case I screw something up. Like if this turns out to be something that I just doesn't work at all, well, I'm not wasting like my life savings on it. So that's good. And this is a fun little computer because it's like 4 inches by 4 inches. It's so amazing. It's basically laptop hardware stuffed into this thing, which is pretty cool. And I made sure that whenever I got my 8 gigabytes of RAM for that, it was only on one card. There's 2 slots. So any other day I can go back to Central Computers, get the other 8 gigabytes for $40, pop that in there, and I have 16 gigabytes of RAM, which is more than I've ever had in any computer. Well, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching. See ya!